Welcome to Finance Deep Dive. Today, we are unlocking the economic stories of the last three U.S. presidents. It's really a journey through crisis, recovery, and some pretty high-stakes policy gambles that, affect every single one of us. So, here's the big question we're going to try and unpack in this video. Is a president's economic track record just pure luck? Did they inherit a booming economy or a total bust? Or do the choices they actually make in the Oval Office really move the needle? We're going to break down the totally unique economic tests that each of these presidents faced. And as you'll see, each one of them walked into a completely different economic world, which forced them to play a totally different game. All right, first stop, President Obama. His story is really one of inheriting an economy in an absolute freefall, and then attempting what we're calling the Great Rebuild. When Obama took office, the economy was bleeding hundreds of thousands of jobs every single month. Unemployment just soared, hitting this staggering peak of 10%. That was the crisis he walked into on day one. So what was the game plan? Well, the centerpiece was the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. The core idea here was pretty straightforward. Use government money on things like infrastructure to try and inject some life back into the economy and, get people working again. So, did it work? Well, it was a long, slow grind for sure, but the trend is just undeniable. Over his 2 terms, unemployment just steadily fell from that crazy 10% peak all the way down to 4.7%. It was a slow recovery, but it was a definite recovery. So if we had to sum up his entire approach with just one idea, it would have to be the rebuilder. Think about it. He wasn't trying to tune up a healthy engine. He was basically performing emergency roadside repair on a completely crashed economy, just trying to get the thing moving again at all. Now, this recovery really set the stage for our next chapter, President Trump. He inherited a much healthier situation, which led to a very different story of boom, bust, and some pretty disruptive tariffs. Yeah, in stark contrast, Trump inherited an economy that was already chugging along nicely. Under his watch, unemployment kept falling, eventually hitting a 50-year low of just 3.5%, right before the pandemic changed everything. His key economic play, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The goal was basically to pour fuel on the fire. You dramatically cut corporate taxes with the bet that it would unleash this huge new wave of business investment and hiring. But the story wasn't that simple, was it? 2 massive curveballs completely changed the economic picture. You had these really contentious trade wars with countries like China, and then, of course, the completely unprecedented shock of a global pandemic. And this brings us to the perfect analogy for Trump's economic strategy. He was the booster. See, unlike Obama, he wasn't fixing a broken machine. He was taking an engine that was already running and trying to strap on a turbocharger to squeeze out every last bit of speed and performance. Okay, we're just about to dive into our final chapter here. By the way, if you are liking the content, don't forget to subscribe. It motivates us to keep posting. And that brings us to our third and final chapter, President Biden, whose economic story has been completely, and I mean completely, dominated by one thing, the inflation fight. As the economy just roared back from the pandemic, fueled by stimulus money and all those snarled supply chains, a totally new crisis popped up. Inflation. It hit a peak of 9.1%, which was a staggering 40-year high. So what was Biden's answer? The Inflation Reduction Act. Now, this was a really complex bill, designed to do a few things all at once, cool down the economy while also investing in green energy and trying to lower healthcare costs. The perfect analogy for Biden's challenge? He's been the firefighter. His whole goal has been to cool down an overheating economic engine without slamming on the brakes so hard that you stall the entire car and actually cause a recession. It's an incredibly delicate balancing act. So, let's pull all of this together now. What we have are 3 very different presidents who faced 3 very different crises, and that led to 3 very different economic stories. Looking at this side by side, what's so clear is that no president started on the same racetrack. From a total financial collapse to inherited growth to a crazy inflationary rebound, each one faced a radically different test that basically dictated their policies. So what's the real takeaway from all this? Well, it's that context is everything. Economic leadership isn't just about the final numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about how a president adapts to the unique crisis of their specific time. Which brings us to a final, really interesting question. With a lot of forecasts predicting an economic slowdown, the next president might face yet another unique test. What kind of leader will that moment demand? If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe. It motivates us to keep posting.